So here we go. Yes, we should be live now. Right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Third Face. Thank you very much, Brent and Brad, for popping in. Oh, let me just mute that. Right. So this is going to be a chilled out, a relaxed, laid back thing. The way we're going to do it is everybody's going to talk about a movie that they enjoy, whether it be a single movie, whether it be
Hey,
um, a series of movies. What's up, cons?
Echo.
Do I have an echo?
I've got some really bad echo right now. I don't know. Yeah, it's like it's playing back again after a few seconds. It's like really the same. Yeah.
Right. Is the echo coming through on me?
I don't hear any echo on you, Q.
See, I don't hear an echo myself.
It sounds like someone's playing YouTube.
Right. Let me close down my YouTube. It was muted. How's that now? One, two, three. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I don't hear any echo on your feed.
I don't either.
Are you
Okay.
still hearing an echo, cons? Cons?
Yeah. Maybe it's just me. But
Do you have YouTube open?
yeah, but I got it on pause.
All right. Maybe mute it?
I'll try that. Give me a sec.
Or if not, just close the friggin' thing down.
I'm gonna pop out the chat.
Okay, mate. Well, you've got the link, so just jump back in.
No. I'll just pop out the chat of YouTube. No.
Okay, mate. No problem. Right. So anyway, this is
Okay.
going to be
It works now. That's fine.
okay. Right. So this is going to be a chilled out thing where each of the panel, and we've invited a couple of more people if they're able to get on. That will be cool. After we've all had our little say, we'll throw the link up for anybody to jump in if they want to. And we're just going to talk about science fiction movies that we, for whatever reason, whether they're good and bad, they can be B movies, they can be the top range movies that are brand new out, or whatever. But they're movies that we enjoy, or science fiction related. Um, so let's introduce the panel. Let's start with Jax. Introduce yourself. Talk about yourself.
Hey everyone, my name is Jax. I am co-founder of East Coalition of Paranormal Investigators. You can find our team channel on youtube.com, East Coast Coalition of Paranormal Investigators. You can find me on Era.
Jax, you seem to be muted. I'm not sure what happened there. That may have been my bad, although I'm not quite sure how. Can anybody still hear me? Please nod if you can. Yeah, okay. Not quite sure what's going on. Control room, all seems fine. Okay. Right. I'm not sure why you're muted, Jax. Could you maybe try leaving and jumping back in? Okay, let's move on to Cyrus. Cyrus, um, tell everybody about yourself, introduce yourself, advertise your channel.
All right. Well, my name is Cyrus. I go by on YouTube by Smooth Virus, and I live in USA, and I'm in Washington D.C. Near the river, and I'm a big time FPV hobbyist. That means first person view. So mostly I fly remote control airplanes with video cameras on them. And you can see my FPV channel is at Rogue Squadron FPV. That's where I upload videos that I've created of various FPV flights. And then I have another YouTube channel. This is called Smooth Virus, and I just kind of whatever whatever I think is interesting to post, I put it there. So there's no overriding theme to that channel. But Rogue Squadron FPV is the one where we have a bunch of different. You can learn a lot about FPV, and I fly multi-rotors, like what people usually call drones. I fly those too. So.
If you're into seeing things flying around, Cyrus's channel is well worth checking out. What was it again, Cyrus? Throw the name of your channel back out there, mate.
So the FPV channel is Rogue Squadron FPV, and then I have another channel that I don't post as frequently to anymore called it's just Smooth Virus. It's a channel I've had for like 11 years.
Okay, we also have Cons on the panel. I don't think you have a YouTube channel, do you, Cons?
No, I don't have a YouTube channel. I'm just, some kind of a regular dude. My background is information security and telecommunications, and I consider myself, like the skeptic, this UFO community, and I'm the I want to believe guy, but I need some evidence. So that's why I'm here. And also, to be honest, I'm funny as shit. Just so you know.
And he's not big-headed either. He's
No.
very modest. Right, and Jax, it may have been me who messed something up there because I thought I was typing in the chat, but I was pressing all sorts of letters and stuff, so I may have muted you wrongly. My bad if it was me. I apologize. Introduce yourself, Jax.
Hey everyone, my name is Jax. I am co-founder of East Coast Coalition of Paranormal Investigators. You can find our team channel at East Coast Paranormal Investigators. You can find me on Twitter, para_underworld. You can find our website, www.eccpi-paranormal.com. You can also find us on Facebook at ECCPI.
And that's Paranormal Underworld.
That is correct.
Just making sure.
There's some been ongoing jokes about what, yeah. Won't be discussing them, but yeah.
Enough said about that. Right, I'll just have a quick look at the chat. I'd like to say thank you to Ghost for popping in. And there's a little YouTube channel, one or two of you may have heard about it. They go by a strange name, Third Phase of Moon. I believe they've got a couple of subscribers, but they're in the chat, so thank you very much, brothers, for coming in. You rock, guys. Also have a really good friend of mine. He does Daisy videos. Mr. Dutch. We've got UFOs and aliens. Hey, Jose. Welcome, mate. He also has a YouTube channel. And we've also got Raphael in the chat, who's one of my mods. Hello, Gordon. Welcome. You're always welcome, mate. Right, so let's get on with the show anyway. Right, this show is going to be our personal opinions on different movies. that we like for whatever reason, all sci-fi related. They can be a new movie, an old movie, a B movie, a top of the notch movie. So here we go. Would anybody like to go first? Jax was waving a finger. I don't know whether that meant yes, me, or no, not me. Right, so Jax doesn't. Anybody else? Or shall I go first? Okay,
You go first.
nobody's saying anything. Okay, so, well, apart from Cyrus. Right, so on my movies are 2001, A Space Odyssey, and the follow-up, 2010, The Year We Made Contact. Stanley Kubrick. Okay, I'm probably butchering his name.
It's Kubrick.
Okay. The movie is basically, when the movie starts, it starts off set thousands, millions of years, whatever the time scale is, before humans exist on Earth. And it starts off with a bunch of basically apes. And they are having an issue with another bunch of apes. One day, this particular bunch of peaceful apes wake up, and there is suddenly this large monolith just sitting there. One of the apes touches it, and it's almost as though he gets a new perception of things, as though something clicks in his mind, and he learns how to be. Um, he learns how to use a weapon. The movie then suddenly skips to times where humans are around and doing space travel. Now, what happens is humans go to the moon. They find one of these monoliths on the moon, and they end up then traveling towards Jupiter. And these monoliths play a big part in the movie. I'm not going to give too much away. I'm going to make it very, very vague. But they travel there to kind of find out what's going on. Um, the spaceship they're using a super high-tech computer called the HAL 9000, which is a computer which is self-aware. It talks to the people. HAL is absolutely frigging epic. HAL always asks one question: will I dream? And you know what? When you've watched the movies, I always find that a little bit heart-wrenching, because during the first movie, they're going out to Jupiter and things don't go well for the crew. Um, it's almost like Hal turns a little bit psycho. But if you watch both the movies, it is explained, because Hal, and there's actually been two HAL computers made. They have never gotten anything wrong. Hal goes psycho because he's given two extremely important contradicting orders, and he can't kind of cope with the contradiction. So Hal does what he does. The movie goes the way it goes. Um, the second movie continues on years later from the first movie, where they go back out to Jupiter to find out what the hell happened to the crew from the first craft. Because stuff went shit up, to put it basically. So they go out, they reactivate Hal, they find out why Hal did what he did, and they continue to try and find out what the hell is going on around Jupiter. At the very end of the movie, there is an answer to the movie, although you do have to watch both movies to have any comprehension of what it is. And it's one of them. It's a movie where you could have to watch it twice, and they're not short movies. and they're not particularly dead exciting. It's not like Star Wars where there's huge space battles going on and stuff like that. There are parts where it's quite laid back, if you like, but the effects in the movie are amazing. And the reason they're amazing is there's no CGI whatsoever. So when you're looking at somebody on screen that is walking round a circular room and walking right the way up the wall, along the ceiling and back down, and then carrying on, it's kind of hard to get your head round how the hell they pulled that off. Now, if you see how they did it, it's really clever. But when you watch the movie, it's really impressive because they're old movies. They've been out for donkey's years. So anyway, at the end of the movie, you do get an answer, and it always reminds me of the way I view the whole UFO thing. People say, "Oh, aliens are so much further advanced than us," which, yes, they probably are. Whether they have the same intentions as us. We would probably go to an alien planet, find aliens there and want to conquer them and enslave them and do the type of bullshit that humans do. But with this movie, excuse me 1 second. Um, yeah, we would want to enslave, we would want to put them under our domain, if you like. But we mightn't have the same intentions as these aliens have. Now, at the end of the movie, we get one message off the aliens, which kind of put us in our place and make you realize that we to these aliens are kind of like ants to us. We see ants on the floor, we stand on them. I wonder what an ant understands of being stood on, and him and 20 of his mates all being killed instantly. Have they got any comprehension? If we were to try and explain to an ant how to drive a car, what what would an ant understand of it? That is, in my mind, how far ahead the idea of this movie is. One other thing I love about the movie was there was a group of guys many, many years ago, round about when the movie was coming out, and they wanted to do computer programming to do with voices on computers. They wanted to make a computer talk. They didn't have a name for their newly formed company. They took their name from the computer in 2001 or 2010, the HAL 9000. And the way they did it was so that there was no copyright, they added one letter onto each letter of HAL. So H became I, A became B, and L became M. IBM. Yep, believe it or not, the IBM, I'm sure you've heard of the company, got their name from HAL. They paid homage to Hal because at the end of part one in the movie, one of the people has to shut Hal down because of what is going on. And in the movie, Hal sings the song Daisy, Daisy. Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer, do. Right? He sings that song. IBM eventually, when they got a computer to sound like a human, they actually got the computer to sing Daisy Daisy. So the first talking computer actually sang Daisy Daisy. IBM realized that if you tried to make a computer speak, you had a real problem because of the gaps in words. Whereas if you made each word flow into the next, it actually sounded more human-like. And that was why, if you listen to the first Talking Computer by IBM, it actually kind of sounds a little bit like this. Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer, do. And it carries on like that. That's basically what it sounds like. But for a company like IBM, which are global, to pay homage to a movie, that's pretty friggin' impressive. So, my choice for one of the best sci-fi movies has to go to 2001 and 2010, A Space Odyssey. If you haven't checked them out, I would say give them a check. I would check them out. Right, so guys, if you've seen them, what do you think of 2001 and 2010 Space Odyssey?
I think they're definitely a couple of my favorite sci-fi movies. 2001 is considered to be the probably the best hard sci-fi movie ever. And by hard sci-fi, basically, hard sci-fi movies, you don't get stuff like the Death Star and giant battles in space with X-wings. Basically, they use actual scientific concepts as we understand them, and they don't stray into fantastical stuff. So, in 2001, you'll notice that there's no sound when they're in outer space. There's no sound, and that's actually how it is out there. They did change that for 2010. 2010 is a little bit less hardcore, and I do think that 2010 holds up really well. I think I have it. I have both movies, but they did they did add sounds in outer space, and when they're in orbit around Jupiter, they play whale sounds all the time, which I guess it fits, but it seems a little weird.
It's a fair comment. It is a fair comment, to be honest.
Well, me personally, I think the last time I watched 2010 was maybe 20 years ago, so I can't really comment on that. But 2001 is one of the movies I was watching when I started my cinemaphile phase, yeah, and I was trying to watch the real gems of cinema. And this is one of the movies I watched. And to be honest, if anybody who watched this movie wasn't like, what the fuck is happening at the end, then I'm my mother. Because this is it's such a crazy. The storyline is fine, but in the end there's no story at all. It's like completely falling apart, and that's what's the beauty of it. So I really love this movie, but I'm not sure what to make of it. For me, if you're like watching the monolith spin in space, yeah, and it's this hope, this big black mess that really dark. People have said that this symbolizes the movie screen, and that's just like a whole nother level of crazy. But Stanley Kubrick is such a genius that I would say, yeah, that's possible. That he could pull off stuff like that. But anybody who hasn't seen this movie, you have to check it out. Take your time, watch this movie. You will maybe regret it, but 20 years from now, you won't, because it's awesome.
Do you have anything to add, Jax?
Actually, to tell the truth, to be perfectly honest with you, I haven't seen either one, so I have no comment.
Oh, somebody boot Jax. Can somebody boot Jax? One of them out of the races, boot Jax.
Sorry, I'm not a mod. I don't have the power to do that.
You should have, Cons.
Sorry.
Yes, you do. You've been at... Yeah, no, whatever, Cons. You troll. I can't believe you haven't seen those movies, Jax.
Well, I years ago, I did rent 2001 Space Odyssey, but I only got through the first 10 minutes, and then it was like, I'm bored with this, and shut it off, to tell you the truth.
That's a shame. That's a real shame. You gotta take your time and really watch it. Just relax and let it sink in. I know it's boring at first, and it keeps being boring. I understand that. That's not much action, but it's really worth it because it's one like masterpiece of cinema.
Yeah, see, as said before, it is a slow movie apart, and they are long movies. But when you take the whole story in, it's an impressive two series of movies. I agree with Cyrus that number one was completely groundbreaking at the time, but number two does complete the story. And the final message is where humans as a species, just with a simple text message on their screen as they are running for their lives. Well, they're not actually running, but their spaceship is getting the hell out of Dodge because they have no conception of what is going on. And the final message that comes in from, let's say, the aliens, the monoliths that are around Jupiter, surrounding it, doing what they're doing. And I don't want to give away the end. The final text message puts the human species and the human race in their place. Full stop and end the conversation. You would not want to go back and mess with something where you have no conception of what you are dealing with and with the kind of power that you are dealing with and whatever it is in the movie, because it's never fully explained, but what you are dealing with is far ahead of anything that you can imagine. It's not just a group of aliens coming to Earth and attacking us that we can fight off with guns and pointy sticks. This is way beyond us. So, yeah, that was my movie. Right, so who would like to go next? Come on, guys, somebody.
I can. Okay, Jax is first. Jax was first.
Take the mic, Jax.
All right. I actually have two of them. The first one is 1951, The Thing from Another World. Now, the plot of this movie, they found a UFO up at the North Pole. And I forget what device that they used to get it out, but it ended up some type of defrosting bomb. I forget what it was called. But they defrosted and the whole ship like disintegrated. But in the interim, when it crashed, I guess one of the occupants had escaped and got frozen in the ice. So they ended up cutting a block out of it, keeping the occupant intact. There was no heat in this facility, the government facility that was there. Someone had an electric blanket and accidentally put the ice, and it melted the ice, bringing this creature back to life. As it's running around killing people, they realized that during one of the attacks, they ended up slamming an arm of this creature in a door, and the arm got cut off. And this doctor that was there was going to, I don't know if he went insane or whatever the case may be, but he kind of like flopped sides and was trying to keep it a secret and trying to stop everybody else from destroying it. And he had little babies of this thing. Who played the thing actually was James Arness, who was Matt Dillon in the Gunsmoke TV series. But but he was growing these in a garden in one of the rooms at this facility, and he was using blood plasma to make them grow quicker than normal. Turns out that this creature was a vegetable. At least that's what they thought. Towards the end of the movie, they actually electrocuted this creature down into absolutely nothing. So that's one of my favorites. And the second favorite of mine is, someone brought it up in the chat, and I thank Renee Cruz for bringing that up. Is Logan's Run, where it was a city that was like underground. Race was all of a sudden just underground. I think it was because of war. And nobody lived what they thought or led to believe that they had to renew themselves by going on a carousel. And they would all line up. They would wear these masks and these hoods. They look like goalie masks. And as it would spin, they would leave the carousel and start flying through the air. And they would be like, they would like explode from the inside out. And everyone thought that they would be renewed. So if, like, my name is Jack, so if I went at 32, they would have to go on the carousel. So after they were renewed, another child was born. Say, like, if I was Jack's and I went to carousel, a Jack's number 2 would be born, and then a Jack's number 3, and so on, every time someone gets renewed. It's supposed to be, they believe that the person that went on carousel, when they're reborn, it was the same person, just relived all over again. But they had Sandmen, which is considered to be like the police, and it was just a crazy adventure. Michael York was one of the stars. What was her name? Jenny Agar, I believe, was the female lead. I can't remember her name exactly, but I think that's what it was. But towards the end, they did make it outside. They met an old man that lived in the Capitol building, and they couldn't believe that what they were seeing, because he was an old man, and he, all wrinkly and white hair, but it's those two are pretty good movies, two of my favorites. But any questions, guys? What do you guys think?
Well, Logan's Run, wasn't that to do with keeping the population down? When you got to a certain age, you basically had to go on carousel, which was going to be the death of you. You know, they would tell you that you were going to be reborn, whether you were or not. You know, I don't think you were. I think it was more to keep the population down, wasn't it?
That was what they found out towards the end of the movie, yes. But at that point, the whole entire civilization thought it was that they were being renewed. That's what they were told.
Have you seen that yourself, Cons? Have you ever watched Logan's Run?
No.
Right.
This is new to me.
And the first movie you were talking about, that was the earlier version of, wasn't it, The Thing? With, what was his name? Kirk? Was it Kirk Douglas or one of them?
No, that was the remake. I'm talking about the original one in 1951.
The remake is Kurt Russell.
Yeah, see, I haven't actually seen the original one, but The one with Kurt Russell is probably the movie I've seen more than
Yeah.
any other movie in my life.
The one with
And-
the best practical effects in cinema history. Period. They're so awesome.
Did you see the making of that movie?
Yeah, of course.
They had
I'm a nerd.
barrels and barrels of friggin' basically KY gel that they smothered on the flaming alien.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Yeah, but the original, what I heard, it's also really worth watching. And Jax was talking about the original, which I haven't seen, but it's now it's on my list, I guess.
I'm gonna have to check that out myself. I can't believe I haven't seen something that's a cool movie like that.
It's a really funny story because you have this original, which is supposed to be awesome. Then you have the remake, which is award-winningly awesome, and then there's the remake of the remake. Still, so you have the remake of the remake, which I don't know, it came out like I don't know a few years ago, and they fucked it up to the extreme because they only use CGI, and that's really funny because the remake was praised for the great practical effects, and they tried to do that in the remake of the remake, but then some studio executives were like, nah, we don't like that, do that with CGI, and it looks awful, and everybody hated it, so it tanked. That's what happens.
Couldn't Hamilton saying Burt Lancaster, was it Burt Lancaster who was Burt Lancaster in Logan's Run? He wasn't in The Thing, was he?
No, he wasn't in either one.
Right. Yeah, it was Kurt Russell in the one that I absolutely adore. One of my, if I hadn't have been picking out 2001, that would have probably been my next pick, to be perfectly honest. I'd say it's probably the movie I've watched more than any other movie in my life. But anything else to add, Cons?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I haven't seen both movies, so not much I can add.
Okay, well, Cons, you're on screen, mate.
Oh wow!
What movie would you like to talk about?
Well, to be sure, everybody in the chat already knows what the best sci-fi movie of all time is, and they were chatting about it. I see it right now. The movie I'm choosing is about some kind of run-of-the-mill general people. They're on a job, and they're so general, just like me. They don't even have a YouTube channel, and they're just trying to get home, and then they get some kind of a distress call and to have to answer because the company is telling them to. And I guess everybody knows what's happening next. A big load of shit is happening next. They're landing on this planet, and they're finding a spaceship there that's sending the distress signal. And then, somebody gets impregnated by an alien, and everybody gets eaten. That's the best sci-fi movie of all time, in my opinion. Ridley Scott, Alien. And who doesn't love this movie? Who doesn't? I'm not sure where to start describing how great this movie is. The phallic symbols over there, everybody getting fucked. Like that's not hyperbole. That's seriously, they're getting fucked by a dick-shaped alien who shoves the tail inside of them and then eats their face. A guy is getting pregnant. Something bursts out of his chest. Not his womb, but his chest. So some sick shit going on. We have this crazy Swiss guy designing all this, who is some kind of a pervert, I guess, because otherwise I can't explain it. And the best thing is the atmosphere. The whole movie has this really dark and gothic atmosphere. Everything is like quiet, and in the background you always have this slow hum going on, and the light is always off in the distance, and it's not bright. So you get this whole feeling of dread all the time. And I'm not going into the psychological shit that's going on in this movie, because that's some really deep stuff. But this is something that has, I guess, changed my life, because nothing compares. I'm just searching for the sequel, the real sequel, like in spirit, and I didn't find it. James Cameron did the sequel, Aliens, which was also a great movie, but it's in spirit it doesn't really compare. It's completely different. It's some kind of an action movie and not horror. Most people love it. I do too. But the original, that's where it's at. That's where my heart lies, you know. And if maybe there are people that haven't seen this, fuck you. Watch it.
Yeah, see, the alien wasn't actually eating people; it was actually impregnating people. And the second movie, there's two versions of that. There's the original version, which was, as you said, it was more action packed, but it was still a damn good movie.
Yeah.
But there's also the extended version. Now, in the extended version, the way it was cut, when you watch the original version, you would never know about the three rail guns that they seal into corridors outside the room. You would never know they existed. But in the extended version, when you actually see them rail guns, when I first saw it with them rail guns in, I was amazed how they'd taken them out, because I'd watched the same movie twice, but this second, the extended version with them rail guns in was just like, how the hell did they cut that out the first one? How the hell was I unaware that those rail guns ever existed? And the scene with the rail guns outside them doorways is intense, to say the least. What do you think about the other movies they did in the series, though? Because they did, was it 7? It was, I think, like 7 movies, didn't they?
Yeah, like I don't know. I don't even know. But before I want to talk about the other movies, I just want to mention that the underlying theme under the movies 1 and 2 is this kind of anti-capitalist message, where the corporation is the bad guy, and profit-driven people are the ones really killing everybody. Because in the first movie, there's this android. I think his name is Ash, and he's like directed by the corporation to get the alien back to Earth, to research it and weaponize it, just like in, I don't know, Jurassic World. Weaponize everything. And in the second movie, there's I'm not sure how this guy's called, Shepard. I'm not sure. And he does the same thing. So the corporation is behind everything, and I kind of love this. The other movies, then there's Alien 3, which takes place on the prison planet, which is, I know this movie is, yeah, it's okay, I guess, but it could have been way better. Then
it's
there's
too dark.
Yeah, and it doesn't really hold up, with the whole atmosphere, story, and stuff. It's okay. It's bearable. You can watch it, but it's not really that great. What is great is that in Alien 3, the alien is nearly eating Ripley, or impregnating or killing her, and then it stops because it senses that she has already got an alien inside her. And that's something which I like. And then there's the next one with Winona Ryder, which is what's its name? Alien what's it called?
Was it Alien Resurrection?
Yeah. No, it's not Resurrection. I guess it's the whatever. It sucks. It sucks ass. Only one good scene in that movie, which is you see that the alien clones of Ripley, which she has to kill with a flamethrower. That's the only good scene in this movie. And then there's Prometheus, which is also interesting. I like it. Most people hate it. I like it. And then the next one I didn't even see. The last one. Covenant, I think. Was called. I didn't even see it yet because I'm not going to the cinema anymore because I'm not supporting the Hollywood money machine. Because the Hollywood money machine is just like the Wayland Corporation, which wants to get the alien. I told you I was funny as shit. Told you. Okay, so everybody has seen Alien, so give me your thoughts.
Oh, it's the story I have about that movie is my parents went to see it when it came out, and I think that was 1978. It flipped my parents out so bad that in the scene where the alien explodes out of John Hurt's chest, they left the movie theater and they never went back. So when I heard that story when I was a kid, it's like, that's gotta be the scariest movie ever. And
did you know? Sorry for interrupting, but did you know they actually didn't tell the actors that his chest is gonna explode, and they pulled this all off, let his chest explode with all the blood spurting out from his chest. Nobody knew except him, and the reaction you get from the actors is genuine. They were really surprised by that. That's so amazing. I love it. I love this movie so much.
When you see that scene where the alien comes out of his chest for the first time, and you're completely right, the only person that knew that was going to happen was John Hurt, right? Look at the eyes on the girl. I don't know what what character she was playing, but she had like short blonde hair. It was in like a bob style. Look at the expression on her face as that happens, and she even gets splattered with fake blood. She is absolutely frigging horrified.
That's Lambert.
Possibly. She absolutely craps herself. And she was one of the actresses. It was so well done. It really was. I mean, the first couple of movies, brilliant. As the series went on, make of them what you will. You know, they varied a little bit, but you know. Anyone like to add anything extra to Aliens?
Yeah, I was. It's one of my favorite of all time too. The first one. I think I like the second one a little more, but they're both excellent. And yeah, I guess it's about the second one is a bit more. It's a bit less of a horror movie and more of a thriller, I guess. It's not quite as scary, but I do like I think Aliens. I like Aliens more than Alien. Maybe I like James Cameron more than I like Ridley Scott. But they are both excellent films, and they're both. The first two are classics. After that, it kind of goes downhill. I didn't like the third one very much, but the first two are all-time classics.
And what you reckon was the scariest line in number 2?
Oh, well,
one line in there that was just epic.
the one line that everybody was like, What are we gonna do now, man? What are we gonna do? We're screwed.
The
That's
scariest.
it. Game over, man.
Yeah, game
Game over.
Game over.
The scariest line for me was from the little girl in it, where she says,
Oh yeah,
"They come in the night, mostly."
mostly.
Whoa, scary shit, man. And then the line probably most people remember is, "Get away from her, you bitch."
That's exactly what I was gonna mention right now. I was waiting for it. I'm like, what scared me the most was Sigourney Weaver. Get away from her, you bitch.
Oh no. Oh no. They come in the night, mostly. That was
Yeah.
scary as frig from like a freaking 10-year-old little girl who survived on her own when
That's
everybody else has friggin' died in, well, not died, but basically being impregnated.
Well, they're dying,
Oh,
I'm sorry,
well,
but they are dead. They are
well,
dying. Sorry
yeah,
about that.
yeah,
I'm not gonna burst your bubble here.
well, they're
They
certainly
are
not going to
dying.
survive the issue, are they?
Well,
Oh, yeah.
the what I'm really interested in is does anyone have some kind of a suggestion how to move on after Alien? Because I'm looking for this movie, and the best thing I found was Event Horizon, which is some kind of a in spirit. This is some kind of a successor, and there's other like shit knockoffs, which I don't even want to mention. But where is the next step in this? I'm really looking for it because I need it. You need it.
I don't know what compares other than maybe. I think the movie that you talked about and Jax talked about are kind of related in a way. I think there's a lot of similarities between Alien and also The Thing, John Carpenter, which is also a classic. And The Thing is based, of course, on the movie that Jax talked about. Actually, as you'll find out in a few minutes, the movies that Q talked about and that I talk about are also they have a similar theme.
Yes.
Jax, we lost audio on you. You're not muted, but we can't hear you. I can't hear him.
Hey, Vern.
Hey, what's up? It's because he was muted. Q muted him.
No, I can't hear Q.
Oh, can you hear me now?
5x5.
Sorry, my bad, my bad.
Whenever I show up.
I'm such a fucking noob. I apologize, guys. I apologize. My bad, my bad.
I thought it was me. Whenever I show up and things happen.
Yeah, hashtag blame Vane. Right, Vane, stick yourself on mute for a minute. Right, we'll get back to you in a sec. So think of the movie you want to talk about. It can't be one we've already gone over, but think of what
I
you
know,
want to
so it
talk
can't be
about.
2001 or 2010, okay? So those were the first ones you went over, right?
Right, but it can't be any of the Alien series. It can't be The Thing. It can't be Logan's Run.
Or
And
They
now
Live.
we're going on to Cyrus. So stick yourself on mute, Finn, and let's hear what Cyrus has for us.
Okay, so I'm kind of following Q's lead here. I'm actually a big fan of hard sci-fi, and I talked about it a little bit before. But basically, hard science fiction is science fiction that is characterized by an emphasis on scientific accuracy. So you don't get a lot of fantasy elements. And just as an example, Star Wars especially, and Star Trek is more accurate, but Star Wars is definitely not hard sci-fi, and Star Trek is kind of 50-50 depending on which show or movie it is, but generally I would say Star Trek kind of strays away. But the more famous hard sci-fi writers are Arthur C. Clarke is probably the best well-known one, and he wrote 2001 and 2010. Paul Anderson is another one. Another one that I'm very fond of is Larry Niven. And why haven't they made any movies out of Larry Niven's books? I don't know. So on to my movie, which is hard science fiction, and this author, I think he only wrote one science fiction book, but it's Carl Sagan, who's better known as the astronomer who wrote the book Cosmos and then hosted the series on PBS, which kind of introduced science thinking to an entire generation of people, of Gen Xers, me. A lot of the I guess concepts of the universe come from Carl Sagan's writings and the things that he taught us. So my movie is Contact, which is a hard sci-fi movie. It's based on Carl Sagan's book, which came out in 1985. And my parents bought it for me because I knew I was a big Carl Sagan fan. And I read it when I was in high school. So the movie came out 1997. It's directed by Robert Zemeckis. Robert Zemeckis is really well known. He's one of the best directors in Hollywood. Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Back to the Future, Forrest Gump, all those are Robert Zemeckis films. So he went on to film this, and there's a decent amount of difference between the book and the movie, but they're both quite good. Anyhow, the plot of the film is it's about this character named Dr. Ellie Arroway, who's an astronomer. And actually, a lot of the characters in the book and in the movie are based on real people. So Ellie Arroway, actually, she's working on the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. And she's struggling to get any funding or get anybody to believe in what she's trying to look for, because none of the other astronomers take her seriously. And that's actually a real thing in SETI. So she gets cut off from funding from the National Science Foundation, and she goes and finds this reclusive billionaire named S.R. Haddon, who decides to fund her project. And S.R. Haddon is loosely based on Howard Hughes. So some years later, they have enough funding to borrow one telescope at the Very Large Array in New Mexico, and they actually pick up a signal coming from the star Vega, which is 26 light years away, beamed at the Earth. So the rest of the movie deals with the social impact of humanity's first contact with an extraterrestrial intelligence. So it's similar in some ways to 2001, which is basically about also humanity's contact with an extraterrestrial intelligence. So it becomes the biggest news story ever. The movie's based in the 90s when it came out. So in the movie, Bill Clinton is president. And it analyzes a lot of themes of science's impact on society, and also science and religion and how they butt heads. So during the course of the movie, they figure out that the signal is intentionally beamed at humans on Earth. And when they look at it, they find that there's a digital signal on a subcarrier that's embedded in it. And in that digital signal are plans to build a machine. So they decide to go on and build the machine, and they build one at Cape Canaveral. And during this whole time, there's different religious factions want to put a stop to this, because the idea of extraterrestrials being real contradicts their very conservative religious views. And also another theme that's in the movie that kind of we see today with like a lot of this flat earth stuff and anti-science stuff, especially here on YouTube. There's a lot of anti-scientific like fanatics that are in the movie, and they're also trying to shut down the machine project. So they figure out that inside the machine, there's space for one human being to sit, to go to wherever, and they don't know. So eventually, Dr. Arroway becomes the person that goes in the machine, and I won't give the ending away, but in the end, she goes, and they find out that the machine activates a wormhole, supposedly. Another big theme in the movie is faith. And this is the difference between the book and the movie. But in the movie, you wind up it winds up being a question of faith that Dr. Arroway go through a wormhole to another galaxy or not. And we never really find out what the public decides. The movie ends with I think the viewer of the movies know, as a viewer, you know that she really did, but the movie leaves it open as to whether or not the public ultimately accepts that any of what the wormhole was found on the other side of the wormhole really happened. So, and the other thing that's kind of interesting about this movie is the scientific consultant for Contact was a theoretical physicist named Kip Thorne, who was a very good friend of Carl Sagan. He was also a very good friend of Stephen Hawking. And he also won the Nobel Prize. So a lot of the space travel concepts in Contact came from him. And there's also a connection between Contact and another movie that's much newer, Interstellar. And you will notice that a lot of the space travel concepts in Interstellar and Contact are the same. And that's because Kip Thorne was a scientific consultant for both movies. So, like I said, I'm a big hard sci-fi fan. Contact is definitely a hard sci-fi movie. Interstellar is a hard sci-fi movie. And I do think it's pretty neat that back when I was a kid in like the 70s and 80s, everything was more Star Wars and Star Trek. But within the last 10 years or so, we're getting a lot of hard sci-fi movies and TV shows. So there's been Interstellar, The Martian. Both of those are hard sci-fi. And I'm trying to remember what's the name of that show that they just canceled and then Amazon picked it up. And I have not started watching it, and everybody is giving me a hard time because they know I'm a fan of hard sci-fi. And this is like the most hard sci-fi TV show ever made. As a matter of fact, I can't remember the title, but they were talking. I know there's a scene, and I haven't seen it yet because I've heard people talking about it. There's a scene where there's they're on an asteroid that's been hollowed out, and they put a habitat inside the asteroid, and then they spin it. So there's artificial gravity inside the asteroid. And then when people are inside the asteroid and they pour a drink out, instead of going straight into the glass, it spirals because of this centripetal force that's inside the artificial gravity. So anyway, it's getting better for hard sci-fi fans like me. But I'll open it up to questions. But yeah, Contact is definitely one of my favorites, and I will happily sit down and watch that pretty much anytime it comes on.
I think I've only watched that once.
Yeah, it holds up pretty well. It is grounded in the 90s, so there's a lot of 1990s Bill Clinton and 1990s music. Although toward the end of the movie, you see that because of the things that they learned from building the machine, the human technology starts to advance a lot very quickly.
Well, for me, there's two things I want to add. One is that at the end of the movie, as you mentioned, it's not clear whether or not she really went and met the aliens. I think there's a really a small scene where they admit that the recording was a lot longer than the recording of the device falling through was like, I don't know, maybe a second, but they have like over an hour or something.
It's a bit of a spoiler, but when they activate the machine, it looks like the pod just falls straight through it.
Yeah.
from the point of view of an observer on the Earth.
So
But
it's for the audience.
But all the recordings come back. She has all these video recorders and stuff on the pod and on her. I guess she has like a headset or something with a camera on it, and they all come back with static. But then they find out that there's 18 hours of recorded static on all the recordings.
Yeah, so it's for the audience. It's completely clear that this is real. What happened to her? But in the universe of the movie, they just gloss over it because it's too inconvenient, you know. And
well, they're getting into the whole faith versus science.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is kind of it's an overriding theme in the book and the movie. Although
that's what I wanted to talk about next. Yeah. That's because that's something which makes this movie. I love it, by the way, but it makes this movie extremely American. Because we in Europe, we don't have this debate between science and religion.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah. So when I'm watching this with a European perspective, I'm always thinking like, what the fuck? Why is this important? Why do you need this guy, this religious guy, counseling? But that's how it is in the US. So
I think that goes back to when the colonists landed on the east coast of North America. They did not come over here with the intention of creating a democratic country. They came over here with the idea of creating a theocracy because they were persecuted for their conservative religious beliefs in Europe. And to this day, 300 years later, we carry on that legacy in this country of the faith versus science. And yes, that's a very American thing, although we aren't the only country with those kinds of things. But in Europe, it's much less of a thing, and I'm a little jealous.
Of course, it's not the only country that happens in. It's just like the movie feels really American to me. And what you forget to mention, which I would like to add, is one of the greatest shots in cinema history, right at the beginning of the movie.
Oh yeah,
when she's running for the medicine for her dad. And they make this amazing magic shot. I'm not really sure how to describe it, but you know the camera is zooming
you have to watch
on the mirror, and she's in the mirror, and then suddenly it's not the mirror anymore. Suddenly it's through the mirror. It's completely crazy. If watch this and tell me how they did this, because it's
actually I totally forgot, but not only that shot, but the first 30 seconds. Well, no, it's the first 60 seconds of that movie is one of the most amazing shots I've ever seen in my life. It starts, you're in low Earth orbit, and you hear all the radio transmissions, everything. It's like every radio station in North America, you hear it all at the same time. And then they start backing out farther away from the Earth. And the further away you get, the more back in time the radio signals you pick up go back. So, I mean, they don't show it as it really is. I mean, you're listening to World War II by the time you pass Jupiter, and Jupiter is what, 45 light minutes from Earth or something like that. It's an absolutely amazing shot, and they zoom all the way back until you don't even hear voices anymore. You just hear Morse code, and then you just hear static, white noise.
It's an amazing, beautiful movie, and I've watched it. I don't know, like at least 10 times. And if Jodie Foster wasn't lesbian, I would have married her by now, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think she's too interested.
No, it can't be my fault, can it?
No.
Well, that's fair. But I love it too. It's really great.
Unfortunately, Jax has to leave. So catch you later, Jax. Thank you very much for coming on.
Hey, Jax. Nice talking to you.
Anybody who knows Jax knows he's our ghost guy, our go-to ghost guy. So check out this channel, Paranormal Underworld.
Are we gonna talk about ghost movies next?
I'm saying it like that Jax knows why. It's an in joke. Right, well, let's give Vern his opinion. Vern, get on camera. There you are, you sexy sod. You crazy motherfucker. Right. What's your movie?
Have we mentioned the Terminator or what's the other one? The Matrix. We didn't talk about that, or like District 9 or any of those type of movies.
No, we haven't, but just pick one for now.
Yeah, I thought they were all good movies. Terminator is probably the most epic, you know, and the Matrix is pretty epic too. But the Matrix kind of went in a weird direction. It went more theatrical or whatever, and then it stayed on like its main theme. The Terminator, I understand though, James Cameron's going to come out with a new movie now, and he said that the last two movies to forget about them, that that wasn't what he wanted, and that he's going to make a new movie now that's going to replace become the actual third movie. So I don't know if you heard that or whatever, but.
Well, which is your favorite? If you can only pick one movie,
I don't have a favorite, but I'll go with the Terminator because that movie impressed me, and when it came out in its day, it blew me away. Because I remember I went to see it in the theater when it first opened, and it was a big deal because it was Arnold Schwarzenegger and all that, and it was supposed to be this epic movie. And so I got to the theater with a friend of mine. We got the last two seats in the very front row. And so we're all looking up like this, and it was like I had to stay and watch the movie again because I couldn't believe it. It was just like I was so blown away by it. But it was I mean the theme, of where you can go in and have the future and then have it come back to the past and then change the by the past and the future, I thought was an awesome concept, with the paradigm of time travel, that was one of the coolest themes about that is how, they were coming from the future into the past, and then when they're in the police station and they're interrogating him, and how he goes, oh, he's either telling the truth or he's a complete loon. But he goes, I think he's a complete loon. And then he bumps into the Terminator on the way out. That was just beautiful. It was a really well done movie. James Cameron's a great director. There's no doubt about it. But what do you guys think?
Well, with the Terminator, wasn't there a whole paradox problem?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah,
the whole John being born and blah, blah, and...
effectively, having the proactive or the proactive whatchamacallit, what am I looking for?
The grandfather paradox.
Yeah, well, his father was the guy that come back to save him, but how could he have come back to save him when he had never been born if he had never come back to save him in the first place?
Yeah, that's
another concept. Yeah. That one's actually in Back to the Future as well. The Robert Zemeckis movie. That's with Johnny Be Good in Back to the Future.
I haven't seen that one.
Chuck Berry's cousin hears the Michael J. Fox character singing Johnny Be Good. And he's like, listen to this. So the point is, who wrote Johnny Be Good? It goes in the circle. Because Chuck Berry supposedly wrote it, but in the world of Back to the Future, he heard it before.
So, yeah, that was really cool the way that they did that too. That subtle thing. I didn't realize that actually that was his cousin. It was Chuck Berry's cousin.
Well, I mean, it's I don't know if he really has a cousin.
He's saying it like.
But you knew Chuck Berry, I mean, it's,
your cousin is saying it on the phone. Like.
Marvin Berry.
yeah. Your cousin, Marvin Berry. No, hey, Chuck.
If that could be true, though, I wonder how much of our present is because of a future that we don't know anything about that comes back. And, it would be pretty crazy to think that all of our technology and everything came from something that couldn't exist.
Well, according to theoretical physicists like Kip Thorne, I think I actually saw him talk about this. There's no way that we really know of to go back. You can go forward by going extremely fast and getting close to the speed of light. And you will age only a few minutes while the rest of the universe around you
Einstein's theory.
Go far into the theory. Yeah, that's general relativity. In fact, they did that in Interstellar.
Yeah.
When they get close to the gravity well of a black hole, and for them an hour goes by, and then 40 years goes back for the guy that's in like the spaceship that's not in the gravity well.
Well, regarding the Terminator, have you ever thought about Terminator and the Matrix being in the same universe?
Yeah, I think they actually probably could be in a way, because it would be the two worlds. That would be the world where the Matrix is, would be sending back the Terminator to stop it from ending the Matrix.
Because not that. That's not what I mean. I mean, after the whole machine wars, the machines win and they create the Matrix. So
Right.
how Terminator stuff is happening as the first defense to defend against Skynet, and then Skynet wins and they create the Matrix, and then Neo happens with all the. I think nobody saw that movie, Matrix, but
yeah, nobody saw it.
Yeah,
it was a flop. Only made $100,000.
That's really.
And which is that's a really funny story, because there was this author, and he actually sued because she sued because she said you ripped off my idea, Terminator and the Matrix, which was my idea, and then the whole 2 movie studios ripped her off. But she didn't win. She lost.
Suing Harlan Ellison too. Another science fiction author who wrote a lot of time travel stories. Actually, I think James Cameron has said that all of his sci-fi movies take place in the same universe. So Terminator and Aliens and Avatar are all in the same universe. I know Aliens and Avatar are definitely supposed to be in the same universe.
What the fuck?
Oh, you didn't know that?
No,
yeah,
but it's so
the name of the company that owns the spaceship in Avatar is Weyland-Yutani.
Yeah, but that's a reference, not supposed to be like the
no,
same
Cameron has said that it's all the same universe.
Yeah, that's okay. Then he knows how to sell stuff. That's awesome. But
well, yeah, look how much money he's got.
Yeah,
he's actually a real scientist. He's actually doing pretty amazing stuff. So I mean, I wouldn't knock him.
Yeah, no, I'm not mocking him. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not buying Avatar being in the same universe as Alien.
Yeah, it is kind of a stretch, huh?
Well, no. He says it's in the same universe as Aliens. I don't think it's in the same universe as Alien.
But by extension, Aliens is in the same universe as Alien. Kind of. And also we have the same protagonist because it has
the same production company that owns the rights to Alien and Aliens also owns the rights to Predator.
Yeah, that's
according to them, Predator and Alien are also in the same universe.
Yeah, that's canon.
Yeah, the end of Predator 2, it has the alien body as one of their trophies.
Well, they made that. Oh God, it's so terrible. They made that Alien versus Predator movie.
Everybody knows.
Awful.
Everybody knows that. Everybody knows Alien and Predator are like the same universe. But Avatar, come on. You had floating rocks in space. This doesn't fit.
Actually, I think he said that not only. Oh no, or maybe he didn't. I think there's references to the Abyss in some of the other movies too.
Alien versus Predator was friggin' awesome.
I thought it was awful.
It was brilliant. It was cool.
And I was really drunk and with a bunch of my friends goofing on it.
And as for Avatar, I went to the pictures, saw that in the best seats in the house, ones where you had the extra leg room, 3D glasses, all of that lark. I nearly fell asleep during it. I did not enjoy that movie at all. I just couldn't get into it.
I watched the movie and I was impressed by the 3D. And after the movie, I was like, Dances with Wolves, I've seen that before. That's it. But the 3D was nice. But
yeah, Avatar. It was a very enjoyable experience, but it's like a.
No substance.
It's like a big bowl of ice cream or something. It's like
yeah.
there's no depth to it. Yeah, it's a lot like Dances with Wolves on Another Planet.
Yeah, it's no
With a
substance.
lot of amazing special effects, but the story is not deep at all.
Yeah, it's just
I did enjoy the movie, but you know, I watched it once in the movie theater. I thought it was amazing, and then I was like, I have no desire to watch that again. The theater experience of watching it in 3D is astonishing, but you know, is it something that there's a lot of cerebral thinking to it? No, it's like a big chocolate bar or something. It's just something very sweet that you enjoy, and then it's like, okay, there's like nothing else to it.
It's something you've seen like many times before, and it's getting rehashed, and it's beautiful. You like it, and then you're like, okay, saw that, don't need to see that again. Whatever happened to the plans to make the Avatar cinematic universe? They were planning like 9 movies. 9 Avatar sequels. What happened to that? Maybe.
Well, I think everybody realized that Avatar was a great movie, but there's not much to
it. People are like, maybe we shouldn't. Which is great, because nowadays most people don't. They're like, we should. Of course we should, but they were like, maybe we shouldn't.
This country, if it can't make money, it won't be done. It's just all about money. If they can make a buck off of it, it's done. They don't care who they offend or whatever, you know.
Well, that's why in the past a lot of the hard sci-fi stuff that I like so much doesn't go very far, because it just appeals to cerebral nerds like me who love it. But there's not many of us, so it doesn't make a lot of money, and they're really expensive to make.
Yeah, the original Star Trek was just that way too. It only ran for
exactly.
And it was because it was so expensive, and they just didn't have the interest. Like they never perceived that it would turn into the craze that, you know, with the Trekkies and all that other stuff, which, you know, is kind of funny. And, you know, they made a movie about the Trekkies, you know, with William Shatner yelling at him and stuff. Get alive!
Well, Star Trek got canceled. Battlestar Galactica got canceled after only 2 seasons. Firefly got canceled after 1 season.
Yeah, one season.
And The Expanse, which is the TV show I was trying to think of earlier, which is like hard sci-fi. That's the one with the hollowed out asteroid. That got canceled after 4 seasons just recently, but now Amazon says they're gonna pick the show up, so it's gonna keep going.
Firefly.
Lost in Space. The 60s. Remember that show Lost in Space?
I think that was 2 seasons or 3. Yeah, but that show's corny.
Yeah, that show was, but the robot was funny in it when he'd be all warning, Will Robinson. His arms flailing everywhere.
They use that robot in all kinds of stuff. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. There's this, I don't know why I'm so interested in it. I think it's because I saw this show when I was a little kid, and it scared the bananas out of me. I would hide behind the couch to watch it, but I had to watch it. There's a show in the late 70s called Project UFO, which was loosely based on the Air Force's Project Blue Book. Yeah, it was produced by Jack Webb, who was famous for making Dragnet.
Yeah, that
show scared the bananas out of me.
Project UFO was cool.
Yeah, even though the show's kind of corny, I have to admit I'm a big fan of Project UFO.
It wasn't corny; it was class.
Well, the first season's pretty decent, and then the second season, there's this whole thing where Jack Webb has a certain formula that he used for every single show he made. There's always these straight up, it
was everything for him. He wanted it as
accurate. With stiff upper lips that they're like the heroes, but there's no backstory to him. What's the backstory to Joe Friday in Dragnet? We don't know anything about him other than he's a bachelor and he's always just the facts. And then in Project UFO, it's the same thing. The main character in the first season, the Major, is just the facts. And he has both the Air Force guys are just cardboard cutouts. They're just there to move the story along. You never find out any background. Do they have families or anything. They never tell you. It's all about the UFO sightings.
The docudrama more, it's more docu.
Yeah. So at the end of the first season, the guy who played, I think it was Major Gatlin, the guy who played Major Gatlin got pissed and went to Jack Webb and was like, "You're not doing anything with my character." And he's like, "I quit. This is stupid." And then the second season, it's a lot cornier. The shows aren't as good, and the scripts. Some of the shows in the second season are like, oh my lord! Like some of the shows in the second season would be good to watch if you had like a bunch of guys and a 12-pack of beer, and everybody just got shit faced, and you could sit there and goof on it. Because there's a couple of there's like 3 episodes in the second season that are just like, oh man, this is stupid. Like there's one episode where they supposedly figure out that the reason the conventional explanation is to why the people saw a UFO is that they all had vertigo from living in a tall building, and it was so bad that they hallucinated it.
Oh yeah,
vertigo, and then they find out. Well, maybe it was real, and also the aliens are horses. They look just like horses in that episode. It's all on YouTube. In fact, if you go to my Smooth Virus channel, I have a playlist of every single episode. You can watch both seasons. Wow. They've never released that show on DVD or VHS or anything.
Why not? Usually they do everything now.
I don't know.
Not like it's expensive anymore.
I don't know. I don't know why they never released it. I think Jack Webb. Well, you can tell that Jack Webb had big plans for that show. Another thing you'll notice in that show is they, like back then, if you wanted to make a lot of money off your TV show, you wanted to get it syndicated. So right. Jack Webb always wanted to get that show syndicated. Well, the guaranteed way to get your show syndicated is to get to 100 episodes. That's like the magic number. If you can get to 100 episodes, it's guaranteed you're going to get that show's going to get syndicated. But what they were going to do was, if they syndicated the show, it was like an hour-long show. So with commercials, that cuts it down to like 45 minutes of airtime. For the syndication, they wanted to cut it down to 30 minutes. So every episode you watch, there's like 15 minutes of filler where they just like stand around and talk. Well, how will we get to the hotel? Well, we'll take Highway 9 down this way to go to the hotel, and then turn left. And, they talk about all their travel arrangements all the time.
Who they are and if they have a family or nothing else, but they'll give you double on the road that they're going on.
The funny part is, when I was a kid, the episode that scared me the most was there's a kid flying a kite, and like the UFO comes down and the kite catches on fire and falls down. And for some reason, that totally flipped me out. I think it was mostly because the kid was the same age as me at the time. And like years and years later, when it finally came on YouTube, and I'm like 38 years old, and I watched it again, I saw this super scary fucking UFO that flipped me out so much when I was a kid. And I was like, wait a minute. They took a plastic model of an American aircraft carrier, turned it upside down, glued a bunch of stuff to it, and put some smoke bombs in it. And that's the UFO. That scared me so bad.
Well, I was just wondering, how's the quality? I mean, somebody had to have done it from what, tape? They had taped it originally.
Yeah, it's all videotaped. Yeah. And it's late 1970s American TV science fiction, so the production quality, it's like balanced. Yeah, it's not anything super expensive or fancy.
It actually helps to have a poor quality video. Maybe even.
The other thing that used to throw me all the time with that show is, not when I was a kid, but now, because it wasn't like an expensive production, so they filmed everything near Los Angeles. But the show actually takes place at where Project Blue Book was, which is Dayton, Ohio, the big Air Force base in Dayton.
Yeah.
And like their scenes were like, oh well, we have to go talk to this UFO witness. And they drive to another part of Ohio, and there's these 8,000-foot high mountains.
They don't exist.
I don't know if you guys have ever been to Ohio, but the part of Ohio where Dayton is flat as this table. It's as flat as a board. There's no mountains anywhere. totally flat.
Yeah, the only thing I know of is that it isn't flat there is the Ohio Valley where the Ohio River is, and that's
Yeah.
almost
Well,
flat.
if you go east of Columbus, then it gets hilly because then you're getting into the Appalachian Mountains. But
Not mountains, not like Alps and stuff.
anything west of Columbus, Ohio, is flat as a board all the way until you get to like Colorado.
Exactly. I wonder, how much like sci-fi has like between the the levels like driven industry and or else like where they've had secrets and they introduce it through science fiction on TV. I wonder how much of the exchanges there, with the ideas. And because I mean, Carl Sagan, like you said, he came up with a lot of ideas that they are now like they're actually pursuing, and stuff. And so I think it does help generate, at least on the one side, the imagination.
That was true with Star Trek too. There's a lot of concepts from Star Trek that became reality.
But then also we're also eliminating them, like some of the things and the gadgets that they had in the earlier ones, they won't even be a factor. We'll have implants or whatever for communications if it came to that point. It wouldn't be using a communicator, like a phone anymore. I don't think because but the tricorder isn't interesting. I think that our cell phones are evolving into becoming a tricorder.
Well, all science fiction, even though it's set in the future, is always a reflection of the time in which it was produced. So,
yeah,
the original Star Trek is a reflection of the 1960s, and a lot of the themes that they visit through the vein of science fiction are social issues that were going on in the United States in the 1960s.
That's true. Yeah,
Star Trek TNG did the same thing.
Yeah.
Because I think the Bajorans are supposed to be loosely based on the Palestinians. I think I read that somewhere. The original concept was they were supposed to be loosely based on Palestinians.
Gene Roddenberry, before he did all the producing, all that, he was a motor traffic officer in Los Angeles. He rode a motorcycle, and that's where he came up with a lot of the ideas. He was riding around on his motorcycle, I guess, or something. And so
he was actually he was an airline pilot before that.
Yeah, well, I think it had to do a lot with the socialist. He saw a lot of conflict and stuff as a police officer. He saw a lot of in the transport as a pilot, and I think those two worlds, converged, and that's where he came up with the idea of the starship and traveling around and doing all that stuff. But there's definitely, I mean, he's going off a lot of his real life experience. I think a lot of his ideas with his shows, and the social realm. But one of the favorite ones is the one with the guy with the black on one side and the other guy with the white on the other. Can't you see? Like, what? You guys look the same to us. No, he's got black on the left side. It's like, wow. Yeah, it was an awesome one. Profound. Because that's truly, I mean, the alien race came to us, they wouldn't be able to, they'd say, you all look human, but he's black and he's Asian, and you know what I mean? They're like, huh?
Yeah.
I don't.
That's kind of a trope in a lot of science fiction, especially anything that's made for film or TV, even up until the present day, is that like the Klingons are basically just humans. Well, in the old show, they were just humans, but they would put like
bumps on their head.
Well, no, they put bumps in their head in
that's right, when they went to
about 1980.
Yeah, when
they
put
bumps on their head. But yeah,
they explain they evolved or something, or
yeah, there's like some backstory to it. But like the Klingons, the Romulans, and I mean, other like in Star Wars, a lot of the aliens aren't super alien.
Yeah.
They have 2 arms, 2 legs, a thorax, and a head, just like humans. Because it's somebody in a suit. Because it's cheaper. It's cheaper to produce it that way.
And Star Wars is another one like that, where they don't tell you the backstory of like how they got the technology and where it came from and everything else.
Yeah, Star Wars is space opera. It's not hard sci-fi at all. But that's one reason why I like. I talked about Larry Niven earlier. Aliens in Larry Niven's books are really alien. I mean, they're not human at all.
Yeah.
The only ones in Larry Niven's books that are anything close to the Earth are the Kzinti, which are these giant battle cats. And Larry Niven based the Kzinti on his house cat. That was his pet. But all the other aliens are very, very alien.
Like a Khan's cat, doesn't it doesn't look like a Khan's cat.
They actually Larry Niven wrote a script for a Star Trek cartoon, and he just took one of his short stories with the Kazinti in it. So he put the Kazinti into the Star Trek universe, and actually they're considered canon. And if they hadn't canceled Enterprise, the next season they were going to have an episode where they encountered the Kazinti, but it never got made because the show got canceled.
Enterprise was actually not a bad spinoff, from the thing. I remember the first. I only got to watch the first season of it.
Yeah, I lost interest in that one, and I lost interest in Deep Space Nine too. But I'm trying to catch up on Deep Space Nine because Deep Space Nine is kind of like the Next Generation in that it didn't get really good until like the third season.
Yeah.
So I watched like the first season of DS9. I was like, eh.
Yeah, I never really got
it. So now I'm trying to watch it again from where it gets good.
But that's where Worf came from, right? Was from Deep Space Nine.
No, Worf came from the Next Generation, and then
I thought he was on.
He's on both. But
okay.
After they stopped making Star Trek: The Next Generation, they moved the Worf character over to Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, he was actually a good character. The guy, I forget his name. He was the black guy that was on ships. He was
on ships. Michael Dorn.
Yeah, Michael Dorn. Yeah, I never really realized it was him until later, and I never thought, because he had such a lame role in ships. Really, actually,
You hardly ever see him.
Yeah, but I
don't remember a lot about chips.
I was into chips when I was a little kid.
I was too, but we're probably about the same age.
50.
There was one I loved more than Star Trek, and it wasn't particularly very popular, let's say, at the time. I mean, the first series, the makeup was a bit piss poor.
Yeah.
And that's kind of putting it nicely. And that was Babylon 5.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that brings me.
Wow.
What was that other show that was on there at that time? Well, I can't think of the name of it. There's another science fiction movie or show that was on at that time. Star Trek. Can't think of the name of it. Oh God.
Voyager?
No. Trying to think who the star of it was. Besides Buck Rogers in the 25th century, but there was another show. Lauren Green was on it. That's right, Lauren Green.
Oh, Battlestar Galactica.
There you go. Yeah.
The original one from 1977, 78.
Yeah. Remember that? Did you ever watch that?
Oh my God, I loved it. I've seen every episode. That was on the same time as Project UFO.
I was thinking Sequest or whatever the fuck that was called. The submarine. Never mind.
Submarine? A flying submarine?
No, a submarine. This was
I know what you're talking about. No, there was a
friggin' Stingray, are ya? Come on, Cods.
No, I'm serious. And there was this remote controlled dolphin in the
Yeah, no, it was in the 90s. I know what he's talking about. It had
Rob Schneider as the captain, who was in Jaws. He was in Jaws.
In Jaws and Blue Thunder.
Yeah. And he was the captain.
Roy Scheider.
Roy Scheider.
Awesome. He was an awesome actor. He was in Jaws.
Yeah, and he was in this series, and there was
Sequest.
I don't know.
Was it Sequest DSV or something like that?
Sequest. That's what I said. What I said. Sequest. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
West. Yeah.
I got like 2 seasons or something, not more because
I never really got into that one.
Nobody did.
Gordon Hamilton's putting FAB. We're not talking about Thunderbirds, Gordon.
But this was actually
Thunderbirds was cool.
It was in 2010.
Actually, Star Trek Under the Ocean. That's what it was. Only that it's like on a planet and not the whole universe, so it's kind of boring. Sequest. Watch it.
Those are all, you know, sci-fi.
Watch it as recommended by Cons.
No, don't tell anybody I said that.
Too late, mate. Too late.
They're gonna hate me. Everybody's gonna hate me. Like
How
he said,
everybody
I gonna watch Sequest.
There was another show. What was it?
Babylon 5 was much better than Sequest. I have to say that. What I really liked about Babylon 5 was the way that the small fighter craft moved with the thrusters, and they're like keeping momentum in space and then moving around, giving another thrust. That was awesome.
Yeah, they did that when they remade Battlestar Galactica. They did the same thing.
Yeah, that's great.
Actually, the guy who created Babylon 5 is the same guy. I don't know if you guys remember this cartoon from the 1980s, but they had the Ghostbusters cartoon, which was terrible, and then they had the real Ghostbusters cartoon, which was really good. And the real Ghostbusters, the main story editor was J. Michael Straczynski, who's the guy, after he did real Ghostbusters, he did Babylon 5.
What do you guys think of Doctor Who?
Oh, I'm a huge Doctor Who. I'm a huge Doctor Who fan.
Yeah,
Doctor
like
Who, Doctor Who, Doctor Who, Doctor Who, Doctor Who, Doctor Who, Doctor Who. He's got his own friggin' song.
He's got a bunch of his own friggin'. There's several songs about Doctor Who.
When that piece of music comes on, you know it's friggin' Doctor Who from the very beginning.
You know what's even better than having it their own song is having their own songs sung by Mr. Spock, and that's Bilbo Baggins.
Oh yeah.
Doctor Who has shit on Bilbo Baggins.
Jax is talking about Space Rangers.
I'm just saying.
Was there like I'm trying to remember? Was there a show called Space Rangers?
I don't remember.
Remember, like really old, like in the 50s or something.
I was going to mention Stargate one, but because that was a show that ran for like a while. I never watched it though.
There was Galaxy Rangers, which was a cartoon from the 80s, which I loved, but it only lasted one season. But the funny part about Galaxy Rangers is Firefly is loosely inspired by Galaxy Rangers.
That only went a year or two, huh?
Firefly only went one season, yeah. I think it was one or two. I think it was one.
I watched Stargate SG-1 because I never watched it.
Oh, it was cool.
I watched it a little bit.
Firefly was the best sci-fi series ever.
Which one?
Fucking loved it. Firefly. I fucking loved it.
Everybody loves Firefly.
So much.
One season then.
Space Rangers 1993.
Yeah, and Jack's Tom Baker was possibly the best Doctor Who that ever was. Gordon said that before in the chat.
He's my favorite.
I also loved John Pertwee when he had years and years before. He was really good, but yeah, I think Tom Baker kind of stole the title off him. I loved this scarf. It was really gay looking, but I loved this scarf.
Fancy a jelly baby?
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, no, Tom Baker's my favorite. Renee's saying Space Rangers. I don't remember anything called Space Rangers in 1993. I remember the show I remember from like 1993 that they canceled after. Oh, it's another one. I think they canceled after one season was Space Above and Beyond.
I don't even remember that one.
Space Above and Beyond was like humanity was fighting this interstellar war against these aliens, and like the first whole half of the season, the aliens kick the humans' ass every time. Like the humans always lose because their technology is better. Then about halfway through the season, the humans start to win, and
don't spoil it.
Well, there's nothing to spoil because they canceled it. They canceled it after one season. Actually, one of the guys that's in that movie played the terrible boss in Office Space. And in the Office Space movie, he's wearing this ring, and it's the class ring from the Space Academy and Space Above and Beyond. Oh, what's his name? Oh, I'll think of it in a second.
What about Farscape?
Lumberg, Bill Lumberg, the guy who plays Bill Lumberg. He was in Space Above and Beyond.
Farscape was cool as well. I loved the woman who was in that later went to Stargate. Don't even know what her name is, but she was freaking epic. Every character she seems to play. Do you know what? Love the bones of her.
Whoa.
Then we had Far Out Space Nuts. I actually am old enough to remember that. With
I don't think I'm old enough to remember that. So
no, well, it was an American show. Who was the guy who played Gilligan in Gilligan's Island? I can't remember right now. He was in that.
He played in that Dobie Gillis show too.
Yep.
Denver, Bob Denver.
Yeah, he was in Far Out Space Nuts. But it was a show for little kids. Like, it's unwatchable to me now. Like, now I watch it, I'm like, oh my god, this is dumb. I liked it when I was 7 years old.
Once again, Gordon Hamilton comes up with possibly one of the best sci-fi things that has ever been on television. Has been a series that ran for years and years. It disappeared. It became cult, and then it came back, and that's Red Dwarf.
Yes.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, we were talking about that the other day. Remember, Keelan? We were talking about Red Dwarf.
Yeah, Red Dwarf. Absolutely frigging classic. I've got like I think it's a fucking 9-disc set of the different series, or however many discs it is. Absolutely frigging classic.
Another one.
Can I just ask Gordon, out of all the Red Dwarf characters, if you can only pick one, which one is your favorite character? Because that is so hard to choose between them. Pick one character, Gordon. Just one. Let's see what Gordon says in the chat. Because no matter what he says, he's going to be wrong. Everybody can give him an argument for why he's wrong. Because they're all so freaking cool.
Yeah. But the
hologram list it.
He was such a jerk, man. Robot guy was pretty funny too. The guy that was the android, Rimmer, yeah.
Yeah.
He was funny as hell too.
Dax just mentioned Land of the Lost, which is actually made by
the Logan in Red Dwarf. I'm not sure who that is in Red Dwarf.
Is he the vampire like guy or something? Or there's that one guy that turns into a bat, right?
No, you've got the cat.
The cat, that's right.
But with the same, the only female character I can think of is one of the computers, Holly.
Aren't they just a garbage trawler or something like that? They just haul garbage or something, or
right, Chigansky, right? Yeah, I know who you're talking about now. The girl, Lister always loved. Yeah, she wouldn't have been one of my main characters, to be honest.
Claudia Black? Are you talking about Claudia Black and Farscape, the actress? Is that who you were talking about? Claudia Black?
No, he's talking about
you were talking about earlier, the actress you were talking about that went to Stargate that you liked so much. It was Claudia.
I don't know what her name is, mate.
She's blonde. She had blonde hair.
No, she had dark hair in both series.
Jax mentioned Land of the Lost, which was the same people that made Far Out Space Nuts made Land of the Lost was really good. And the reason why it was really good is they they hired a lot of the same script writers from Star Trek, the old Star Trek. They wrote scripts for Land of the Lost. So like DC Fontana, who wrote a whole bunch. Actually, she wrote a bunch of scripts for Next Generation too, and she wrote a bunch of scripts for original Star Trek. She wrote scripts for Land of the Lost. And Larry Niven, who I've already talked about a few times, he wrote scripts for Land of the Lost too.
I'm just looking. Gordon's put up Rimmer out of Red Dwarf. That's his favorite character. Yeah, Rimmer was epic, and to watch him, he is possibly the best character. But what an arsehole he was! If you knew him in real life, wouldn't you just want to freaking stab him to death? You know, he was such an arse.
I've got one for you guys. I don't know if you'll get this one, Q. I don't know if they had this over in the UK, but there was this. It started out as a TV movie, and then it was for one season. It was a TV show, although granted, the TV show wasn't really good. But the movie part was actually like predicted SpaceX. So it starred Andy Griffith as this guy who's like he owns a junk and salvage company in Los Angeles, and he builds his own rocket and sends a crew to the Apollo landing site on the moon to take all the to salvage what's left of the lunar lander and bring it back to sell it to make money. So it's a for-profit private space company. It was called Salvage One with Andy Griffith. I don't know if anybody remembers that except me.
Never heard
It was
of that.
way ahead of its time.
Cons has to leave. Thank you very much, Cons, for coming on. You're a freaking superstar, mate.
You're exaggerating, but thanks.
Oh, you are.
I
Thank
love
you
it.
very much for participating. And smell you later, mate. I'll catch you up with you tomorrow. Hit me up on Hangouts.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, have a nice night evening or whatever.
Smell you later. Thanks for coming on, mate.
See you guys.
Right, bye-bye. So Rimmer was a hologram, right? Is that...
Rimmer was the hologram. You had Lister, who was the last remaining human. You had Rimmer, who was the hologram. You had the cat, who had originally... Well, the cat was a descendant from Lister's cat when he got put into stasis, when Rimmer had screwed up, not put the drive plate on correctly, which he always blamed on Lister, even though Lister was in friggin' stasis. But he blamed it on Lister because Rimmer always blamed everybody else. And then you also had Crichton, which was a robot they came across later on into the series, as the series had gone on. And then you had the two Hollies, which were the computer personas, shall we say. There was one who was a dude, and there was a female Holly as well. And both of those were cool. And then you also had Kachansky, who Gordon was talking about before, who was... the female that Lister always loved, but she didn't play a big part in the early ones. She got talked about, but you never really saw much of her.
Yeah.
Because the original girl who actually played the part of Kachansky was a pop star. She had I think she had a scar on her.
Chloe Annette.
I'm not sure of her name.
What it says here, Chloe Annette.
Right, I'm not sure because there were two women that played that part. One in the very early ones, and then one in the more recent ones where she actually had a proper part where you saw her in multiple episodes. But yeah,
they actually made episodes they're making episodes right now. Do you know that?
Yeah, it's been on recently. I've been watching them. They're still cool.
An epic run for any show, but they're like in their 20th year or something.
Yeah, there was a big break between the episodes. You know, it wasn't like an ongoing thing every year. There was a big break, but it become a cult thing. You know, at the time when it came out, a lot of people didn't watch it. Over here in England, it was on BBC Two, which it isn't like one of the main channels.
I think they didn't realize the cult following they had in America, you know, and actually they had no idea until they canceled, I think, or something, because I remember that everyone was so disappointed over here, and like nobody in Britain really had even heard of it. It was like such a syndicated show, you know. But yeah, I was just noticing. They said the first year was 1988. So here it's 2019, and they're making them. So that's a pretty, even if they took a break, that's pretty incredible run.
Yeah, Gordon's correct there. He's saying in the chat, Claire Grogan. But she actually released songs. She was also a pop artist because she had a little scar. But she was the original Kachansky. And then in the newer ones where you see Kachansky, it was a different actress. But yeah. Right, well, listen, guys, I'm awfully sorry about this, but we're going to leave on a high. Thank you very much, Cyrus, for coming on. Thank you very much, Vern, for coming on. You guys were both epic. Much better than smelly poo-poo pants Jacks who had to leave. from Paranormal Underworld.
Underwear?
No, don't say that on stream. No one's supposed to know that. And thank you to everybody in the chat. You've all been epic. I'm not going to go down names because I will. Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
Gotta say something.
What have I done? What have I done? He's come back.
Quick, everybody leave. Jax is back.
Run for your lives. Mr. Underworldwear is here.
Shit, people, run. Paranormal Underground has just logged on.
Terrible, huh?
Right, well, thank you to everybody in the chat for coming on. You've all been epic, and thank you for being so cool in the chat. Sorry we didn't pay more attention to the chat at the beginning, but we were trying to stick to a bit of a structure, if you like. But thank you so much. I hope you all have a great night, a great day, a great afternoon, whatever time it is for you. And again, thank you very much to the panel. What more can I say?
Screw you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome, mate.
Yeah, it was great. It was fun. Actually, it was a really refreshing, topic, actually.
We'll have to do another one. Maybe tomorrow, right before Jax goes live. Are you doing a live tomorrow, Jax?
I'm doing a live tomorrow, but I also may do a live tonight.
Okay, cool. Well, do you know what? I might do a live that's more user-friendly for the times of the people that you speak to. I might do mine before you go on, and then we can cut mine off, and we can go on to yours, and we'll take it from there.
Sounds good.
Sweet. Right, well, thanks, Cyrus. Thanks, Vin, you crazy motherfucker. Thank you so much, Jax. Love the bones of you.
Love you too, brother.
And I'll smell you later. Good night, guys.
Bye.